Lily had this way of talking like the world was just a game she hadn't quite figured out the rules to yet. That morning, I was still half asleep, microwaving leftover pancakes while she sat at the kitchen table, legs swinging off the chair, eating yogurt like nothing was off. And then she said it. "Daddy, why is there a strange man hiding in the closet?" The spoon froze in my hand. I turned slow. "What did you say?" She looked up, blinked at me. "Mommy said not to tell you." There was no thunderclap, no swelling dramatic music. Just this eerie stillness that dropped into the room like a rock into water. I didn't ask more. Didn't shout. I just walked. Up the stairs. Each step was heavy, like my legs weren't mine. I wasn't thinking about divorce or betrayal or heartbreak. I was thinking, what kind of man hides in a closet in someone else's house? With a kid there. With me downstairs. Our bedroom door was cracked open. Her perfume still lingered in the air, but she wasn't there. The bathroom door was shut. I didn't check it. I walked straight to the closet. I paused. My hand didn't shake. I wasn't scared. I was curious. I opened the door like I already knew what I'd find. And there he was. He wasn't dressed for hiding. He was dressed like he belonged in a nightclub. Tight shirt, designer jeans, that ridiculous watch people wear just to be noticed. He looked more embarrassed than scared. And he didn't even try to explain. Just stood there like he was the victim in all this. Behind me, the bathroom door clicked. She stepped out, towel around her neck, hair damp, eyes wide. She stopped mid-step, took in the scene. Me. Him. The open closet. And you know what she said? "Oh, for God's sake, Lily told you?" Not "I can explain," not "this isn't what it looks like," not even "I'm sorry." Just that. I turned to her, but before I could speak, she rolled her eyes and walked back into the bedroom like I was the inconvenience. Like I'd ruined her morning. That was the moment everything inside me flipped. I wasn't heartbroken, I was insulted. This wasn't just cheating. This was mockery. This was arrogance. This was her treating our house like a hotel, our daughter like a joke, and me like a dull inconvenience to work around. "You brought a man into this house?" I asked. She sat on the bed, drying her hair like it was just another Tuesday. "Don't act shocked. We haven't been us in years." He was still in the closet, like some overpriced mannequin that had lost its purpose. I looked at him. "Get out." He moved, slow, like a guy easing into cold water. Didn't say a word. Just stepped past me. Didn't even look me in the eye, like he was more afraid of her than me. She laughed, short and cruel. "Oh, come on, Jake. What, you're gonna start playing macho now? Please." I'd seen her angry. I'd seen her cry. But this smug, bitter version of her? I didn't know this woman. She crossed her legs, gave me that sideways glance. "You gonna throw a tantrum now? Break something? Or are we gonna be adults about this?" That was part one. And as crazy as it sounds, that wasn't even the worst of it. I didn't throw anything. Didn't scream. I didn't need to. The silence was enough to rattle the windows. She sat there with this casual contempt, like she was the one doing me a favor by being honest, finally. She stretched, let the towel slide off her shoulders, and glanced at her nails like they held the answers to everything I should have already figured out. "You think this was some big secret," she said. "You think you're Sherlock Holmes, cracking the case?" She stood up and walked right past me, barefoot, dripping water across the floor, like I wasn't even in the room. "I've been done pretending for months. You just didn't want to see it." I followed her downstairs. The guy had vanished, probably still figuring out how to explain this to whatever mirror he liked most. She grabbed a coffee mug from the kitchen counter like it was just another morning. Like our daughter hadn't just casually blown her life wide open. She took a sip and looked at me over the rim. "So what's your plan now, Jake? Gonna cry in the garage? Call your mommy." I stared at her. "You let him into our home. While Lily was here? You hid him in a closet like some twisted sitcom gag." She snorted. "Relax." She thought it was a game. "You're acting like I brought home a murderer." "She's 7, I said, my voice low. "She trusts you. She loves you. And you made her part of your lie." "Oh, give me a break. Don't stand there pretending you're some saint. You check out every night. You've been checked out for years. You think the bills and bedtime stories are enough? You think any of that matters when you don't even look at me anymore?" I stepped closer, too close. "Don't twist this into something I caused. You didn't just cheat. You orchestrated it. You planned this like a heist. And when it blew up in your face, you blamed our daughter. That hit her. For a second. Her face cracked, not guilt, not regret, but irritation, like she was bored of repeating herself. She slammed the mug on the counter. You think you're the only one who's hurt? The only one who gets to be angry? I gave you everything, Jake. And you gave me this life where I rot in routine, where I disappear behind dishes and homework and your exhausted silence. That's when I realized she wasn't sorry. Not even close. There was no remorse. No shame. Just years of contempt that had finally rotted through her surface. She had rehearsed this confrontation. Maybe even fantasized about it. Like I was supposed to crumble, beg, maybe even apologize. But instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I laughed. A bitter, quiet laugh, like the kind that bubbles up when you realize the horror show you're watching isn't fiction. I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I'd just been patient. Tired. Hoping she'd come back on her own. But this wasn't a cry for attention. This was war. She didn't like the laugh. It knocked her off script. Her face twitched. What's so funny? She snapped. I leaned against the counter and smiled without warmth. You're right. I have been checked out. Checked out of you. Because I didn't want to admit what I married. But now you've made it easy. She stared at me, that smirk of hers faltering just slightly. The tension thickened. The air felt dense, like something was about to snap. And then from the top of the stairs came Lily's voice, quiet, uncertain. Mommy, are you mad at Daddy? That was the moment her face changed, not with guilt, but with calculation. Like she'd forgotten Lily was in the house. Like she just remembered her audience had ears again. She turned to me, suddenly soft, suddenly rehearsed. Let's talk about this later, okay? Not in front of her. But the damage was done. The curtain had lifted. The villain wasn't in hiding anymore. And I was just getting started. I went upstairs and found Lily sitting at the top step, knees tucked into her chest, holding her stuffed bear by the arm like it might float away if she let go. Her eyes were wide and unsure, searching my face like she was trying to solve a puzzle far too big for her. I crouched down, resting my hand on the rail, just below hers. Hey, I said quietly, like we were sharing a secret. She didn't speak. Just nodded once. You didn't do anything wrong, I told her. You were honest. That's what matters. She whispered, is Mommy mad at me? I shook my head. No. She's just upset. But not at you. Not ever at you. She leaned into me then, just slightly, and I picked her up, carrying her back to her room. The second I set her down, she whispered something that made my chest tighten like a vice. I don't like the man in the closet. I froze. What do you mean? She curled deeper under her blanket. He smiled at me. But not like people do. He smiled like he wanted me to go away. I had to fight every instinct in me not to storm downstairs and drag him back by his overpriced collar just so I could make him look her in the eye and explain what the hell he thought he was doing. But instead, I kissed her forehead, told her I'd be back in a minute, and walked down the hall. The master bedroom door was shut now. I knocked. No answer. I opened it anyway. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, legs crossed, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. She didn't look up when I walked in. I closed the door behind me, and the click of it echoed louder than it should have. You let him smile at our daughter? Her thumb stopped mid-scroll. What are you talking about? She told me. He smiled at her like he wanted her gone. She scoffed, tossing the phone onto the comforter. He was probably just nervous. Don't dramatize it. I took a step forward. Do you even care what this looks like? What it feels like? You brought some creep into our home, and he looked our daughter in the eye while he was hiding in your closet. She's a kid. She doesn't understand exactly. I cut her off. She doesn't understand. So she trusts. And you just cracked that trust open like it was nothing. She stood now, not out of remorse but frustration. I told you this stopped being a real marriage a long time ago. I wanted out months ago, Jake. You just never listened. No, I said, stepping closer. You didn't want out. You wanted an audience. You wanted to be the victim and the villain and still walk away with applause. She stared at me, eyes cold. What do you want, Jake? You want me to cry? Beg for forgiveness? That's not happening. I want you to realize that Lily is not your pawn. She's not part of your excuse. She folded her arms. You're not taking her from me. I tilted my head. You think I'm gonna let her live in a house where strangers play hide and seek in the bedroom closet? The air between us shifted. Not fear, strategy. She was recalculating like a chess player who suddenly realized they were 3 moves away from checkmate. Then, Just as suddenly, she softened. I didn't mean for her to see anything, she said. I didn't plan that. I narrowed my eyes. But you did plan him. You planned this. You just didn't plan on getting caught. She looked down for the first time since this started. Not because she was ashamed, but because, for the first time, she realized the narrative was no longer hers to control. I'll call my lawyer tomorrow, I said. We'll figure it out. But from now on, Lily stays with me. At least until we both sit down and figure what kind of arrangement won't destroy her. Her jaw clenched. She didn't argue. She knew she couldn't. I walked out, leaving her alone in that room that used to mean something. And I realized for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't feel numb anymore. I felt clear. And what was coming next? That was going to change everything. The next morning came like a punch to the chest, sharp, sudden, and completely unwelcome. I didn't sleep much. Spent most of the night on the living room couch, staring at the ceiling while my mind replayed every word, every smirk, every sideways glance she gave me the day before. I could still hear Lily's voice in my head asking why that strange man was in the closet. And her voice, that voice, so calm, so smug, telling me I should have seen it coming. I got up before dawn, made Lily breakfast, and packed a small bag for her. Clothes, toothbrush, her favorite pajamas, the rabbit plushie that had one ear hanging by a thread. I didn't know exactly what was coming, but I knew one thing: I wasn't leaving her there while her mother played games with random strangers and called it finding herself. Around 7, Amanda came down the stairs like it was any other day, wearing gym leggings and a tank top, hair tied back, sunglasses perched on her head. She didn't look like a woman who detonated her marriage the day before. She looked like she was on her way to a Pilates class. She glanced at the bag by the door. What's that? Lily's stuff. She's coming with me. She took a long breath, the kind that said, here we go again. You don't get to just decide that. I do when there's been a man hiding in your closet while our daughter's in the house. She rolled her eyes. That again. You're really going to hang everything on that. I stepped in front of her, calm but firm. You keep pretending it was no big deal. But what if it had been someone dangerous? What if Lily had walked in while you two were? Stop, she snapped, holding up a hand. Don't get dramatic. He's not a danger to anyone. You don't even know that. You don't know him. You let some guy into our home like it was a hotel room. And when you got caught, your first instinct was to lie and then blame our daughter for talking. Something in her face cracked then, barely. A flicker of something. Not regret, but discomfort. Like maybe she was starting to see the image of herself I was seeing now, and it didn't look as flattering as she imagined. I'm not saying you can't see her, I added. But for now, she's staying with me. You can talk to your lawyer if you want, but I'm not leaving her here while this circus is still going on. She laughed. Laughed. You think you're the better parent now? You, who spends all your time buried in work, who doesn't even notice when I'm gone for hours. You think you can just swoop in and play hero because I made one mistake? I didn't flinch. This isn't about me. It's about Lily. And this isn't one mistake. This is a pattern you hid behind smirks and sarcasm. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, then didn't pick it up. That said everything. Is that him? I asked, not bothering to hide the disgust. She met my eyes, didn't answer. I bent down and zipped up Lily's bag. I'll bring her back tomorrow. We'll sit down and figure out a schedule. But until then, I want her out of this mess. And then, just as I was walking toward the door, she dropped her final card, quiet but sharp. She'll hate you for this one day. I turned. No, she'll thank me, because someone had to be the adult in this house. I walked out. Lily was already in the car, swinging her legs, humming some cartoon song to herself like her entire world hadn't just shifted. Kids are resilient like that. Or maybe they're just better at pretending until they understand what pretending even means. I buckled her in. She looked up at me and asked, "Is Mommy mad?" I paused, thought about lying. But she deserved more than that now. She's just confused, I said. But we're going to be okay. You and me. And as I pulled out of the driveway, I saw Amanda through the front window. just standing there, watching us, arms crossed, no tears, no regret, just a face I didn't recognize anymore. And I realized something that hit harder than anything else. She was never hiding him in the closet. She was hiding herself. By the time I pulled into my brother's driveway, the morning sun had fully broken through the clouds, casting everything in that too bright glare that makes the world look cleaner than it is, like a fresh coat of paint over a condemned house. He lived about 40 minutes outside the city, in one of those suburbs that still had the illusion of peace. Clean fences, trimmed hedges, kids on scooters. A perfect place to pretend things are okay. He was already on the porch, sipping his usual black coffee, barefoot, wearing a hoodie and old basketball shorts. He raised an eyebrow as I stepped out of the car. "Didn't think I'd see you this early unless someone died," he said. "Something did," I muttered. He looked at me, then at Lily, who was now out of the car and skipping toward the porch like we were on vacation. He didn't ask more. Not in front of her. Just smiled at her, offered her cereal and cartoons, and guided her inside with that older brother calm he'd always had. When she was settled, we stepped outside. And that's when I told him, not just about the man in the closet, but about the months leading up to it. The way Amanda had turned cold. The subtle digs, the nights out that didn't add up, the new clothes that weren't for me. I told him everything, and he listened, really listened. No judgment, no raised eyebrows, just that quiet, infuriating nod he gives when he knows something you don't want to admit yet. "You still love her?" he asked when I finished. I didn't answer right away. The truth is, I didn't know what I loved anymore. The woman I married, the mother of my child, the idea of her, maybe. But the woman from yesterday, the one who rolled her eyes as I found her lover in our closet, that woman wasn't mine. Hell, maybe she never was. "I don't know who she is anymore," I said finally. He sipped his coffee, then gave me a long, heavy look. "Then find out who you are now. Because you're not a husband anymore, Jake. Not in the way you thought. You're a father. That's the part you hold on to." I nodded. That part was never in question. The next few hours passed in a blur of cartoons, pancakes, and trying to keep Lily distracted. She didn't ask about Amanda again. She didn't bring up the man or the closet or anything about that day. And I realized something that tore me apart. She'd already learned to edit herself around us. 7 years old, and she was already choosing which truths to keep quiet. That night, after she fell asleep in the guest room, curled up under a frozen blanket my brother's daughter had left behind, I sat outside again, this time alone, the air colder than I expected. That's when Amanda texted. Just 3 words. "We need rules." I stared at it. Then I stared at the stars, as if they'd answer for her. Rules? She wanted to talk about rules now? Where were the rules when she let him in? Where were the rules when she told Lily to lie to me? And then I realized this wasn't a plea for peace. It was a setup. She was drawing the battle lines. She knew this was going to court. She knew she'd have to clean up the narrative. And she was trying to get ahead of it. So I replied with only one line. "Start with this. No more strangers in the house while Lily's there." 10 minutes passed. No reply. And just before I turned my phone off, it buzzed again. "You're so dramatic." Not "you're right." Not "I'm sorry." Not even "okay." Just more deflection. More venom. Like she was playing a role she thought she'd mastered. I locked my phone, leaned back, and breathed deep. Tomorrow I'd call the lawyer. Tomorrow I'd start building the case. But tonight I was just a man sitting under a dark sky, realizing that the woman he thought he'd grow old with had finally shown him who she really was. And it wasn't someone I'd ever love again. The next morning began with a cold pit in my stomach and a name I never thought I'd Google, Ethan Weller. That was his name, the man in the closet. I didn't ask Amanda. I got it from a photo on her phone when she left it face up on the counter once, months ago. I'd remembered it, filed it away. Back then, it was just a gut feeling. "Yeah?" It was a match to a face I'd stared down through the cracked closet door of my own bedroom. The results weren't dramatic. No criminal record. No obvious red flags. But that wasn't what got me. What got me was the Instagram account. Wide open, public, littered with mirror selfies, gym shots, and captions like "no risk, no reward." He was one of those guys. The kind that talks about grind sets and alphas but hides behind a closet door when real life knocks. And Amanda, she'd chosen this. Not by accident. Not in a moment of weakness. But deliberately, repeatedly. This man had been around Lily. He'd seen her. And Amanda had handed him the keys. I called the lawyer just after 9 a.m. His name was Derek Miller. Referred by a friend. Voice like sandpaper and confidence sharp enough to cut stone. I laid it all out, no fluff, just facts. The affair. The man. The child in the house. The confrontation. Lily's words. Every detail. He listened. Took notes. And when I finished, he didn't ask, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He said, "We build from here." He explained custody first. Said judges don't care about cheating unless it endangers the child. But the man in the closet? The daughter's exposure? The request to lie? That mattered. "We're not arguing morality," Derek said. "We're arguing safety. Emotional security. Stability." I could work with that. Later that day, Amanda called. No warning. No text. Just her name lighting up my screen like a storm warning. Against my better judgment, I answered. Put her on speaker. Let her voice echo through the room like something foreign. "Jake," she started, voice low, too calm. "I think we should slow down." "Slow down?" I asked. "From what? You already sprinted past the finish line. I mean, with all this legal stuff, lawyers, custody, drama. It's not good for Lily. You invited a stranger into our home, Amanda. Into our daughter's orbit. You don't get to lecture me about what's good for her." Her voice sharpened. "You think dragging this through court will protect her? It's going to rip her apart. Do you even care what that looks like?" "She already saw him," I snapped. "She already knows. And you were fine with that. You told her not to tell me. You involved her before I ever did." A pause. Long and heavy. Then, "You're being cruel." I almost laughed. "You want to talk cruelty? You had her lie. You made her your shield. And when it blew up, you called me dramatic." Her tone changed then. A shift. Something behind it, urgency, maybe even fear. "What do you want, Jake?" she asked. There it was. The question I'd been waiting for. Not, "What can we fix?" Not, "How do we move forward?" Just, "What do you want?" I told her the truth. I want full custody. I want Lily safe. I want you to figure yourself out without dragging her through it. Her voice cracked then, just slightly. "You'd really try to take her from me?" I didn't flinch. "No. I'd try to protect her from you." Big difference. Silence. Dead line. Then a sharp exhale. "You'll regret this." "No," I said. "I regret not seeing this version of you sooner." And I hung up. I stared at the phone, heart steady, not angry anymore. Just done. Done with the manipulation. The show. The rewrite of a story she never owned in the first place. Amanda wanted a stage. She wanted an audience. But she forgot the one rule of performance: when the truth shows up, the script stops working. The letter came 2 days later. A cream envelope, too thick, with my name in looping handwriting I hadn't seen since our wedding invitations. Amanda never wrote anything by hand. She texted, emailed, sent notes through Lily's backpack if she had to. But this? This was curated. Deliberate. A final performance piece. I opened it at the kitchen table, alone. The paper smelled like her perfume, still playing angles. The first line nearly made me laugh. "Jake, this isn't who I wanted us to become." She went on for 2 pages, single-spaced, front and back. Half apology, half accusation. She said I was emotionally distant, that I hadn't seen her in years, that she tried to tell me and I brushed her off, that she made a mistake, yes, but only because she felt invisible. Invisible? That word burned. She wrote about the man, Ethan, in abstract terms. Someone who reminded me I was alive. Someone who listened without judgment. She didn't name him, like leaving him vague would make him less real. Like I hadn't seen his sneakers next to our coats or smelled his cologne on the towels. And then buried between lines about broken dreams and shifting needs, she dropped this: "If we go to court, I won't hold back. You've made your share of mistakes too, Jake. Don't push me to bring them into this." It wasn't a plea. It was a veiled threat, wrapped in nostalgia, sealed in perfume. I didn't respond. I scanned it, folded it, slid it into a drawer I didn't plan to open again. But I didn't need to, because 2 hours later, she showed up at the door. Unannounced. Lily was at school. I opened the door expecting maybe a delivery or the neighbor's dog again, but there she was. No makeup, hoodie, jeans, hair tied back. She looked like the girl I met in college. But older. Harder. Someone wearing the ghost of that girl like a costume. "I shouldn't have sent that letter," she said. I leaned against the doorframe. "No, you shouldn't have." She hesitated. "Can we talk? Just, not like lawyers. Just us." For a second, I considered slamming the door. But curiosity, morbid, stubborn curiosity, won. I stepped aside. She walked in like she still belonged there. Looked around the living room. Her eyes landed on the blanket draped over the back of the couch. The one Lily always curled up in. She touched it just once with her fingertips. "I messed up," she said quietly. I didn't say anything. She turned. "You think I don't know that? You think I don't hate myself for what I let happen?" Now I looked at her. Really looked. "No," I said. "I don't think you hate yourself. I think you hate that you got caught. And now you're scrambling to rewrite the ending." She winced. "That's not fair." "What was fair?" I asked. "Lying to Lily? Telling her to keep secrets from me? Bringing someone into this house while I was working to pay for it?" Her voice rose. "Don't make this about money." "Then what should I make it about, Amanda? The betrayal? The fact that you can't even say his name in your letter? But you let him sleep in our sheets." Her mouth tightened. "I didn't mean for her to see him. That wasn't supposed to happen. And yet it did. Because you stopped caring who saw anything as long as you got what you wanted." She stepped closer. "Jake, I'm trying to fix this." "No, you're trying to control the fallout." Then I said the thing I'd been circling around since the closet opened. "If Lily hadn't said anything, would you have told me?" She froze. No words. Just silence. And that was my answer. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked away, down at the floor like it might open up and swallow her. "I didn't think it would get this far," she whispered. And there it was, the truth. She never planned for the long term. Just the lie. Just the rush. Just enough to feel wanted again until the consequences came knocking. And when they did, she dressed them up in perfume and apologies and letters laced with threats. I walked to the door and held it open. "We're past talking, Amanda. The next time we see each other, it'll be through lawyers. And the next time you send a letter, make sure you're ready to read one back." She looked at me then, really looked. And for a flicker of a moment, something like fear passed over her face. Not fear of me. Fear of losing the narrative. Of not being the one who got the last word. She stepped out, paused, turned. "I don't want her to hate me," she said softly. I didn't answer, because some truths don't need words. She walked to her car, and I closed the door. The first court date was set for a Monday. It felt like waiting for a storm that had already torn the roof off but still had thunder left in it. I wore a suit I hadn't touched in years. It smelled like dust and obligation. Lily was with my mom, safe, clueless, drawing unicorns while two adults decided who got to see her brush her teeth at night. Amanda arrived 5 minutes late. She didn't look at me. Her lawyer did all the glancing, all the smiling, all the posturing. He was slick in that beige, polished way. Hair too perfect, tie too bold. Like he belonged more in a courtroom drama than in real life. Amanda sat beside him, rigid, flipping through a folder she probably hadn't read. She looked small that day, not because of guilt, but because real stakes don't flatter performance. They shrink it. My lawyer, Derek, wasted no time. He laid it out with surgical precision. No drama, just a timeline, a statement from me, and this part hit hardest, a written summary of Lily's words. Her own voice, transcribed. "There was a man in the closet. Mommy told me not to tell Daddy. I didn't like the man. Amanda's lawyer objected to that last line, claimed it was too subjective, not admissible. But the judge allowed it. She was a woman in her 50s, sharp eyes, zero tolerance for theatrics. I liked her instantly. Then Amanda spoke. It was rehearsed. She talked about stress, about isolation, about how the relationship deteriorated over time. She said things like emotional needs and lost connection. Then, when it came to Ethan, the man in the closet, she pivoted like she was on stage. He was a mistake, she said. I never intended for Lily to be exposed to that. It was poor judgment. I take full responsibility. Derek stood. Is it true, Mrs. Langley, that you asked your daughter not to tell her father? She hesitated. Too long. That courtroom silence swallowed everything. Yes, she said finally. But I didn't mean it to hurt anyone. I was just afraid. Derek nodded. And how often had this individual been present in your home while your daughter was there? Her lawyer interrupted. Objection. But Amanda answered anyway. Twice, she said. That day and once before, but she didn't see him. She looked at me then, briefly, as if to say there, I told you the truth. That's enough now, isn't it? But it wasn't, because truth without change is just confession. And confession doesn't fix broken glass. The judge ordered a temporary custody arrangement while the case proceeded. Lily would stay with me during the school week. Amanda could have weekends under supervision until a family therapist evaluated both of us. Fair, the judge called it. Amanda looked furious. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering fast. I stood to leave. She followed me out. In the hallway, she caught up, put a hand on my arm. I stopped, not for her, for the moment, to see what she'd try next. You think I'm a monster, she said. But I'm not. I looked down at her hand, then at her face. No, I said. Monsters are scary. You're worse. You're careless. She let go. Lily will see this one day, she said. She already has, I answered. Then I walked away. That night, Lily fell asleep in her bed after I read her 2 chapters from her favorite book. The silence after her breathing slowed was the kind of silence that held peace, not tension. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't stay up scrolling through memories or trying to make sense of what fell apart. Because something else had clicked into place, Amanda lost control of the story. And I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was rebuilding. 3 weeks passed. 3 long, tangled weeks of lawyer calls, therapy appointments, and emails filled with words like assessment, stability, and parental fitness. Amanda was suddenly everywhere and nowhere, sending texts that oscillated between desperate and icy, asking to talk civilly one moment and threatening to expose everything the next. But the thing was, there was nothing left to expose. Not on me. I wasn't perfect. I worked long hours, missed a couple of recitals, forgot a couple of anniversaries. But I never lied. Never cheated. Never turned our daughter into a prop for my selfishness. Lily, on the other hand, was adapting. That's the word the therapist used after the second session. Adapting. Drawing happier pictures. Smiling more. Still asking about her mom, of course, but less with worry. More with the curiosity of someone watching a character fade out of a story. It was a Thursday when I got the call that flipped everything. Derek rang me at noon. You're going to want to sit down for this, he said. Amanda's lawyer had quietly submitted an amendment to their argument. New information. They were claiming I had emotionally manipulated Lily against her mother, that I had created a hostile environment, using Lily's words as evidence manufactured by suggestion. It was a nuclear move. She was trying to flip the script, cast herself as the damaged but loving parent, and me as the bitter man twisting his daughter to win custody. I didn't even feel rage at that point, just this cold, precise clarity. I told Derek she's cornered. He agreed. Cornered people throw anything. Doesn't mean it'll stick, but we respond with fireproof facts. So I called the therapist, then the school counselor. Then I went into Lily's room while she was at school and I picked up the drawing she'd made just last week. Crayon, blue sky, 3 stick figures, me, her, and oddly enough, a small dog we didn't own. Amanda wasn't in it. I wasn't going to include that in court, but I kept it. Because the picture wasn't drawn out of spite. It was drawn out of feeling safe. Amanda didn't back off. She doubled down. The next supervised visit, she asked Lily if she missed her real home. The therapist noted it, wrote a report. Amanda told the therapist she felt alienated, that Lily was being turned against her. Lily told the therapist that mommy gets mad when I talk about daddy. The judge read both statements. And the next court date? Amanda didn't bring her lawyer. She stood up, alone, palms sweating, hair too perfectly straightened. Her voice cracked when she started reading a prepared statement. Something about regrets. About pressure. About love and confusion and pain. But it was the end that caught me. I don't want to lose my daughter, she said, eyes wet, voice shaking. But I understand now that what I want doesn't matter more than what she needs. She sat down. The courtroom was still. The judge leaned forward. Looked at me. Then at Amanda. Final ruling. I'd have primary custody. Amanda would have visitation, gradually increasing with therapy approval. And just like that, the war ended. Not with applause. Not with victory speeches. Just quiet. After court, I didn't look for Amanda. She didn't look for me. She walked past me, holding her purse too tight, her face blank. I don't know if she cried later. I didn't check. That night, Lily asked if she could stay up late and watch cartoons. I said yes. And we did. And I realized it wasn't about winning. It was about not letting the damage define her future. And not letting her mother's closet become the room where she learned how to hide. It's been 5 months since the last gavel fell. 5 months since Amanda walked out of that courtroom without a word. 5 months since I drove Lily home from the courthouse, her hand wrapped around my thumb in the back seat, asking if we could get ice cream even though it wasn't Friday. We did. Extra sprinkles. Life didn't snap back into place. It reshaped itself. There are still ripples. Amanda calls every week, sometimes late, sometimes early, never consistently. Her tone swings like a pendulum. Some days she's the soft-voiced mother asking about school projects and Lily's new favorite snacks. Other days, there's a tremble under her words, like she's searching for a crack in the wall she built and wants me to pull her through it. But I don't. I don't scream. I don't argue. I don't remind her of the closet, of the lies, of the man who tried to vanish through the back door while our daughter watched from the stairs. I don't need to, because I remember, and remembering is enough. Lily's different now too. There's a calmness in her. She laughs easier, sleeps through the night, talks about her dreams again. We go to the park every Saturday, rain or shine. She draws more now. Sometimes it's just animals and trees, sometimes it's people. The stick figures have grown fingers, hair, smiles that don't bend weird. The other day she drew one of just me and her. We were flying. No wings, just floating above the houses, holding hands. She still asks about her mom. And I never lie. Mommy loves you, I tell her, even if she made some big mistakes. Because that's the truth. Amanda does love her. I don't doubt that. But love without discipline, love without honesty, that's not parenting. That's performance. And kids need something real to stand on. I think back, sometimes, to that exact moment. Lily tugging at my sleeve in the kitchen, asking why there was a strange man in the closet. That sentence split my life in two. And maybe that's what people don't talk about enough. How betrayal doesn't always roar in with broken dishes and screaming fights. Sometimes, it tiptoes in through the familiar hallways of your own home, hides in plain sight, and smiles at your child like it belongs there. But the house feels different now. Lighter. Not because we painted the walls or bought new furniture. Because the lies are gone. Amanda's story, the one she tried to twist into artful tragedy, doesn't control the room anymore. She tried to make herself the center of pain, of redemption, of everything. But Lily, she's the real story, the only one that mattered. And me, I'm not a victim. I'm not broken. I'm a father, still learning, still rebuilding, still standing. So if you're reading this, some guy scrolling Reddit at 3 a.m., Because you can't sleep next to someone you don't recognize anymore, here's what I'll say: trust your gut. Protect your kid. And when the closet door opens, don't look away. That's not the end of your story. It's the start.